Hey everybody, it's Michelle LaVore and...
Wait, shouldn't we say, hey everybody, it's Addendum and Interruptus? Welcome to the Tangent?
No.
Shouldn't we? No?
No.
Alright, well I guess we'll go with the original one. Cut.
Hey everybody, it's Michelle LaVore and...
Devin LaVore coming at you.
And we're so glad that you're here, and we just pray that you guys are blessed by what the Lord has to share. And today we're going to be doing Act 2, Scene 6. And just talking about
a little
this
early.
Week. Yeah, slightly early.
Because we got a birthday coming up.
Yep. And and so we decided to go ahead and do our video today rather than wait
well,
for a couple
the Lord
days.
Was like, He knew.
Yes.
God knows what He's doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with all of our quirks and features, He knows what He's doing.
Yes.
You know, He's got things planned out.
Always.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into that today, and then as always, we want to give a huge thank you to everyone who continues to give to us and supports us.
We can have birthdays because of it.
Yes, and so huge thank you to all of you, and yeah,
huge.
So we are gonna. Oh yes, and if you would like to give to us, you can. We are support based, and we have a PayPal link below, and you can just click.
No, I
that.
totally forgot about that. You were like, "Oh," I was like, "Where are you going?" I totally forgot. I'd forgotten about it too. So
yeah, but so we're gonna just dive right in, and I really feel like for this week, we actually kind of ended our last video talking about how we had read through the book of Ruth and how at the end of it, there is a wedding, there is a marriage, and that's really where the Lord has continued to speak a lot this last week. And so I feel like there's kind of three themes, so to speak. There's the wedding, which was a huge theme. There's the garden, and then there's also just a sudden break or a sudden breakthrough. And so we're just going to go through all three of those and speak to it.
This is crazy because a lot of this stuff has come from like, okay, morning God time, nighttime God time, morning God time, night. I mean, literally like within like 4 God times, we're just like, oh my word, it's just like, Cheesecake Factory revelation.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, wow.
Yeah. And so we'll start off with just talking about the wedding. And basically, I think it was Sunday night. I was really we were in prayer time. And it was kind of interesting because that night, for whatever reason, you got up and you came and sat next to me. And it was just like, I was praying and then you just held my hand. And it's crazy because as I was praying, I was starting to get this
How often
vision,
do I do that?
Like, hardly ever, especially,
I'm usually sitting right here.
Yes.
Right where I'm doing the video. Yeah. That's where I'm usually sitting.
Yeah.
Because, I'm leading or I'm either sitting here because there's no other place to sit.
Yeah. Yeah. And so...
in that moment.
That night, he came over and he was just holding my hand. And at that same time, I was getting this vision of just being a bride with her father and standing like at the doors that lead into like the sanctuary, like you're getting ready to get married. And it was so real in that moment. And it was like the Lord was showing me he was it's God the Father, and it was like he was tender mercy. And I just started praying, and it was as if I was like, he's my father, I'm the daughter who's getting married. But I was just thanking him and pouring out my heart of just like, you have been there this whole time. You've taken me through the ups and downs, and it was just like, it would be as if like a daughter that they had this amazing relationship with her father. And so before she goes in, she just wants to be able to say thank you and really pour out her heart of just like...
have a little special moment.
Yeah, just have that moment. Yeah, that was it. And even that night, I was just like...
That was a beneficial interruption?
It was. It reminded me because...
Praise the Lord.
That night, I was really
divinely inspired, not interrupting.
I was really just feeling that sense of, I want to take this moment and just really thank you and just just really pour out my heart for all that you've done in my life. And it was just like, I knew, like, it was, things were getting ready to change. It was like you're standing before those doors. You know that when they do open and you walk down the aisle, you know, you're going to
These are the last
meet your
minutes.
husband, and your life is just going to be different. It's going to change. And, but it was really awesome, too, because it was like, all right, well, who are you marrying? And it was like, well, you're marrying the Prince of Peace. And for a long time, the Lord has told us, he's like, I've been carrying you in my tender hands of mercy. And there's going to come a point where you're going to go from mercy and be transferred over to peace.
Given over. Kind of
given
like,
over.
I'm going to give you over to peace. And he gave, can I?
Yeah.
Because you remember that airplane vision we got? He's like, it's going to be like this. You're going to land, you're going to taxi, you're gonna board. You're like, okay, ding ding, time to get off. And then, you know, and it's like you've been with tender mercy this whole time. And it's just and then you're gonna walk down this hallway, and then peace is just gonna be there holding a sign saying LaVore's. It's like, oh, that's us. It's like, yep, here you go.
Which is very much even like a wedding. The husband, or the husband to be at that point, is standing at the altar waiting for you to come. And so it was like, wow, we're going to be handed off to the Prince of Peace. But it was God, the Father, the tender-hearted Father of mercy, that has brought you up, raised you up. And so it was just this moment with the Lord. I mean, truly, it was so touching for me, because it was so real, and it was just like really seeing how God himself has been my Father, and how he's taken care of me from the moment that I came to know him. And just like, I don't know, for me, I was of course crying and then praying, and it was just such a special moment for me. And it was like, okay, so here we are that night, and the Lord again is speaking to us about the wedding. And then basically on Tuesday night,
I don't know the dates.
Well,
don't look to me for confirmation. Oh, well, you look like you were asking me a question.
No, I was looking down, and then
okay.
But I was like,
I don't know. You're the dates person.
No, but I was gonna say it was you. I was gonna hand it over to you.
Oh, you were passing the ball.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you.
So on Tuesday night, the Lord continued to just speak to us about just this idea of the wedding, and that's when for worship time, you were feeling just like that sense of the wedding started, like the processional.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Well, because it's like we've had these 2 times now where, like, before the restoration play began, there was this moment of silence just in the spirit, you know, for about a half an hour. Read your book of Revelation. Anyway. And then we had it again later on. And I was just like, oh, this is important. That means something's really getting ready to shift here, or change, or whatever. And I was getting that sense of the music starting, because I was like, you know, it was my turn to lead. So that was in the morning, huh? And so it was my turn to lead God time, because I lead God time in the mornings generally, and she leads it at night. But really, it's the Lord who leads. And sometimes it flip-flops all over the place. But a lot of times it's co-leading. When it really comes down to it. But so I was picking a certain set list, and that song by Brandon Lake, House of Miracles, that had just been in my head all morning. And I'm just like, wow, this is really like an anthem. It was really for a couple days. But I was like, wow, this is a thing right now. And so I knew I was supposed to pick that song. And then I picked a couple other songs too. I was like, yeah, really feeling that one and that one. But then I really felt like the Lord had me get that song, Whatever Your Plan Is by Bethel. And I was like, oh, I don't really want to do that song. But I'm not really feeling that song. But it's like, okay, well, you're feeling it. So I guess I'm going to put it on there. So I was like, okay. Because sometimes the things that the Lord does, we just agree with and we flow with. But sometimes he wants to go a different direction, and we realize, wow, our hearts are wanting to go somewhere else. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I don't want to do that. Let's just go with what you want to do. And I was like, put it at the top. And I was just like, oh, okay, that's a really slow song to start with. And it's like, oh, and House of Miracles is quick?
Yeah.
Like, come on. House of Miracles is about as slow. And so I put that on, and as soon as I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't argue or fight or anything. I was just like, okay. And so I did. As soon as I put it on, I just got that sense of like, whoa. It was like there was this sense of like there was so much busyness in the scene and the restoration scene before this one. So then to start this one off with that sense of hush was like, whoa, it's just like the wedding. Mm-hmm. When there's just people are coming and they're finding their seat, and the more people come, the more the hubbub and the murmurs, mm-hmm. you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All that's going on. You can't discern anything anyone's saying. You just know there's a lot of people talking. And then there was a sudden quiet because the music starts. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
And so do you want me to go through the songs or just...
Well, I mean, but basically what you were seeing was just like, okay, this has started, and there's just this sense of like, like just how a wedding would be, where mm-hmm. people are starting to walk down the aisles, and all mm-hmm. the bridesmaids, the groomsmen.
But
all
the
that
songs
kind of
were like a exchanging of vows too. Mm-hmm. So can I?
Yes.
Okay. So there was a whatever your plan is, you will make a way for it. Whatever your will is, just come and do it here, right? Mm-hmm. And it was just like, that's the opening. That's the opening of the wedding. It's like, mm-hmm. whatever your plan is. And it's funny because here we have an object lesson before the song even happens. No, right?
Yeah.
It was just like, well, whatever your plan is. That's literally what and then as the song is going, I'm just like, oh my Lord. I'm like, you totally set me up here. And it was a good setup. And then it was like House of Miracles. This is a house of miracles. And he's talking about his house mm-hmm. and how he wants his house to be a house of miracles. Mm-hmm. And the Lord reminded me during that time that in the garden life, because life outside, I was just telling my kids this morning, the whole world is built on, I'm starting to sound like Christopher Walken there. But anyway, the whole world is built on on the knowledge of of good and evil, mm-hmm. the business systems, every sort of system, every sort of industry, education, all of it. Mm-hmm. Education is built on the foundation of the knowledge of good and evil. Oh, well, this is good and this is evil. This is good and this is evil. And that's why you have all these culture clashes, because what one group says is good and evil is different than another. And the Lord taught us a long time ago, that's outside of the garden life. Even church. A lot of churches are built outside of the garden and are run by outside of the garden life. Mm-hmm. And the Lord's like, when you're in the garden, there's peace, there's joy, there's grace, there's an ease of things, there's a favor. They used to say back in the day, favor ain't fair. Well, no, it's not fair, because I just give it to you. Mm-hmm. I just, here, you want this? Oh, here, you can just have it. And it's like in the garden, the fruit of the garden is miracles. There's a video from a while back, but it's like, that's the truth. Mm-hmm. It's like you just go and pick a miracle out. Oh man, we need this thing to go through, and we need this to pass through. Here, let's go pick a miracle from heaven. Mm-hmm. Just, you know what I mean? That's the way it is in the garden. And I felt like the Lord was like, this is a house. Here, whatever my plan is, well, my house is going to be a house of miracles, mm-hmm. because it is a house of holiness, because it is a house where people come in and they fear the Lord. Mm-hmm. The soil of that garden is the fear of the Lord, and everything grows up from that. Mm-hmm. Respect and reverence for the Lord. And it's like, it's a house of miracles, And then the next song was It's Always Been You by Phil Wickham. Mm-hmm. Man, Phil Wickham, if you're out there, bro, ever seeing this video, you're amazing. Yeah. You always just, bam, you hit it right on the head. You know what I'm saying? His heart for the Lord is so amazing. And the lyrics that come out are just like, wow, he loves the Lord. Mm-hmm. You can't fake this. Mm-hmm. And if he does an amazing job at faking it, which I don't think he does. But anyway. And it was about always been you. Yeah. So, and it's just, God, it's always been you who's delivered me and comforted me. And kind of the moment you were having
outside
the door.
Yeah.
You're
exactly.
Like, door.
Yes.
That's not making the blooper reel. I'm keeping that right there. Anyway. And then we had the last song, Charity Gale. She's saying, "Great is your faithfulness." That girl is amazing. And so this whole time I'm thinking, these are the vows of the wedding. There's an interchange going on here, you know?
And a lot of times when you're doing a wedding, you're picking out songs that mean something to both of you and your hearts. And it's like, it's one of those big pieces. A part of the wedding is the kind of music that you're going to have. And so it was just kind of like, oh, here's like the heart of the Lord. He's just like, this is where my heart's at, you know, of like what's between us.
And we're singing back to him, well, this is where our heart's at. And it's kind of that Jeremiah 33:11 thing of just like, there's going to be these songs and going back and forth between heaven and earth, between the bridegroom and the bride, you know. We had a Toy Story song in our wedding.
We did.
and a Fireflight song in our reception. Kind of Toy Story meets heavy metal. It's perfect.
Yeah, basically.
Perfect. Lion. We're going to write a book. What was the book going to be?
Butterfly and the Lion or something like that.
When a lion marries a butterfly.
Yeah.
This is what happens. People are like, can I pre-order that? You sure can. In a couple years.
Yes. But then, of course, and it was just so interesting because the Lord was just using just all this wedding pictures and things like that. And so, and then actually I was been watching a show and it ended up having a wedding in it. And it was just like,
that was amazing.
Wow, like look how this is corresponding. Yeah. And, but then another thing that the Lord was talking to us about was
a completely separate God time.
Yeah, it was the exchanging of rings. And that actually happened the next morning. And it was really more about, it was about the rings, but it was also about the presence. And you had been talking about, there
like
is...
like the presence of a person?
Yes.
Or like gifts? Oh, okay, cool.
Well, kind of both. But, but it's just the presence of the Lord and feeling his presence and experiencing that. And so we were just talking about, yes, we experience the Lord, but there is a dryness when you're in the wilderness versus when you're in the promised land.
Or when you're in manifestation.
Yeah.
Just the presence of God is just pouring out on you so much you can't even stand up. Mm-hmm. You had not even experienced that, have you?
No.
See? Oh, I cannot wait. I can't wait. But the Lord's like, it's going to be the same thing for you, Devin. I'm going to pour out on you in a way that you haven't even experienced yet. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, that's going to be amazing because I've experienced a lot.
Yeah. And so we were just talking about...
Why y'all think I'm crazy? Okay? The Lord's made me this way. Okay? Are you ready for the shepherd staff? Anyone?
Let me go get it.
Oh my gosh. Just keep going. I'm not even going to edit this part out either.
All right. Anyway, so there's just the exchange of rings and it was just interesting because I really felt like the exchange of the rings, each of you gives something. And I really felt like, the Lord for us has shown us throughout this journey, it's like the ring that he's giving is a ring of really provision. He's like, this is the sign that for you will know, I'm going to continually provide for you.
Making a way.
And there is, kind of the idea of just the blessing of the Lord upon your life, and it will be seen. Mm-hmm. But then I was asking the Lord, well, what is the ring that we give you, that sign that says okay, we're married, because that's what rings are for. Yeah. And we were just saying, it's really our obedience. Our obedience, the Lord says, if you love me, you will obey my words. And so it's as we obey, that's the sign, that's the outward sign that says, yes, we are the Lord's, we belong to him. But then on top of it, after you've exchanged rings, and then the pastor will say, all right, now I pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. And I really felt like the kiss being is really just the experience of the presence of the Lord, where it's just this, and it's like the presence is going to produce life. And so it's just that sense of like the presence and the spiritual intimacy with the Lord that will come with the marriage, with being married to the Prince of Peace and His Word and what He's doing in our lives. And so that was really a lot of what the Lord was speaking to about the wedding. But another thing that kind of went with it that the Lord was after experiencing like all of these visions and all of this stuff, it was like, okay,
it was
Lord,
a deluge of visions, man.
All right, is this happening? You're always asking, like, is this now? Is this like prophetic word? Like, we've had other visions where there's been like very sequential visions as far as like the birthing process.
The ancient
ruins.
back.
And so it's like, okay, is this like a now thing? Is this coming? What are you speaking? What are you saying?
Yeah.
And the Lord gave us Ruth 3:18, and we just recently read Ruth, and it was just basically sit still until you see
until
how
you learn how the matter
is taken care of. And it was Naomi speaking to Ruth,
because he won't rest until he settles the matter today. Right.
And so basically just this idea of like, just be still in your heart, just sit and rest and know that the Lord is going to continue to move. He's going to continue to like work until the matter is settled, until all things have come together. But as our part, it's like, all right, just sit, be still, continue to just listen, continue to worship, continue to praise Him, and just be at peace in your heart that, hey, the Lord He knows what He's doing. He's on this. And
but Ruth was probably pacing the floor back at the hut, just going, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Come on, let's be honest for a second. Let's be real. The Lord says, do not let your heart be troubled. Raise your hand if you failed. Right here. It's like, my heart is troubled. Lord, come on, help me out here. And the Lord is always there to help us.
Yeah. And so that's really all of just the wedding portion of like our week. I mean, it has just been it's really been a huge piece. But then there's also been, the Lord has been talking to us a lot about the garden in many different ways. A few videos back we talked about there's the door. We're at the door, and I was asking the Lord, well, what's on the other side of the door? And He showed me that it was the garden.
So we're gonna have a garden wedding.
I guess so.
That's what's gonna happen.
Those are beautiful.
Because you're on the other side with the Father, and it's just when the door opens, what's going to happen? Well, you're going to have a garden, and there's going to be a wedding, and there's be amazing things taking place.
Yes, and He's been talking about like eating the fruit and of the garden. But one of the things that God was showing us this week, I feel like, is really significant because, we've talked about how, as a tree, our family, like the Lord, when we were living in Kansas City before we left, it was like we had this picture of Him scooping our tree up that represented our family and carrying it in His tender hands of mercy, and He's like, I'm going to plant you in your land. Well, this whole journey so far, we're still being carried by the Lord. And
for real.
Eventually the Lord
since
is like,
what, December 17th of 2017.
And He's like, I'm going to continue to carry you, but there's going to come a time when He's like, I will plant you in your land. And
Psalm 80 verse 8 for those of you who want a little reminder scripture.
Yes.
So
and so with that, I feel like the Lord was kind of sharing with us, when He plants us in His land, like His heart's desire. And and first is like, as he plants us in his land, the Lord was showing us the soil, the ground that he's planting us in is the soil of the fear of the Lord. And I was just like, that is so true, because even with the Israelites, when they came into the promised land, he was planting them in that land, and it was through the fear of the Lord, meaning being in awe of who he is, like having these hearts that are just amazed by him. You know, he took down the walls of Jericho. He opened up the Jordan. He, it was just like there were so many parts of it that he was trying to capture their hearts to be in fear and awe of him. And it's kind of the same thing, I think, with the fulfillment of the word of the Lord in our life, the promises fulfilled. There is just going to be another level of awe and reverence and fear of the Lord.
Well, the same kind of fear and awe that they had with when the walls came down or when Lazarus came out of the grave. I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because then that causes you to respect what Jesus says. Like, wow, this guy, whoa. Okay, well, if he says so, then I see. So it's like the awe and the respect are really in the same seed, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think like you were talking about too, how the Lord has already begun that process. It's already being in the fear of the Lord for us throughout this whole journey.
Where are my notes? I mean, it's just like, well, the Lord he told us, like, he's like, the reason I've brought you guys through this whole journey the way I have was to develop the fear of the Lord in you. That's why I had to take time to tear down and strip away and build up and renovate everything. It's like, because I had to make you guys a house that can contain the glory, and that would respect my word and would fear my word. And so I had to get a lot of stuff out, and so we just went on a journey of holiness, really. And it's not like we were in some sort of abject sinful lifestyle and I had to turn off you know what I mean, or anybody had to do that. No, it was just a matter of, you can run fast. That's great. That's awesome. You do run fast. You got potential. You want to train for the Olympics? Yes, let's do it. And then you go through, HE double hockey sticks just to get to the Olympics. And it's like, this is not what I thought it was. I thought it was going to be glorious. It's like, it will be when you get to the Olympics. But you got to go through this first. And it's like, it's crazy. The training and the regimen, it's like it's your life. It is your entire life. It's like, I can't go to the movies because that would put me past my bedtime at 9 and I have to get this amount of sleep because I have to wake up. I mean, your whole life is scheduled. It's like, that. Welcome to the training. You want this? And you still want it? And it's like, yes, Lord, we do. And so I feel like the Lord's like, I've taken you through this whole thing to developing you an Olympic level fear and respect and awe of me. And I tell you what, man, it has worked. It has worked. Whoa!
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, and it just makes me think about, like, a lot of times
I was just going to say more the same stuff.
It's kind of similar with trees, but also, like, for fish. Like, if you take them from one tank to another, they usually have this period where they have them in water from, like, where they're adapting, where there's this moment of adaptation before they put them into the big thing. And I feel like even with, like, the tree, it's like we were taken up, but we've been in the hands of the Lord, adapting and changing and being prepared to be placed into the soil that the Lord has for us to grow in.
Can I share that vision a little bit? Yeah, because the Lord scooped us up, and throughout this there was a time there where he began to bring it up again, and he was showing me his hands were like this, holding the tree, and our roots were going literally into his hands. They were digging into his hands. It was like, wow, what is going on? And I forget what he said back then, but he was just like, you're growing in my, like,
tender mercy.
But it was like, there were 3 specific things. It was like power, love, and something else, that we're just growing in those things. Intimacy, but I'm pretty sure it was the fear of the Lord as well, So it was really cool.
And so with that, though, the Lord was like, okay, so we're going to be planted in the soil. But even in the soil, when like the parable of the 4 soils, there's good soil. But even in the good soil, there is a 30, 60, and 100. And so we really were talking about like the deeper we go with the Lord, like the bigger our roots are, and allowing, and really it comes down to humility and allowing the Lord to work in our hearts and bring things out and yield ourselves to what He's doing and not refusing, not like...
Well, it kind of goes to that Isaiah 55, is it 55, 3?
Yeah.
It's like, hear and your soul will revive. And consent to the will of God, and you know that's how it works.
Yeah. And so like the deeper you go, then you will receive like the 30, 60, or 100.
Yeah.
But the Lord He wants all of us to receive the 100. Yeah. He wants His people to be fully developed, to be complete, to have fruit that comes from just 100% of, you know, like the fullness of God's love. It's like, can you imagine like being a tree that produces like 100% of what the Lord wants, yeah, absolutely. Versus like only 30 or 60, and it's like those still would be good. It's like, wow, that's
at least
really
they're producing,
right? But it's like just this idea of the 100-fold, and so we just talked a lot about that, and really just that, you know, it's the fear you're in the soil, the fear of the Lord, but also just having that humility as God plants the tree, like that His heart is we would all just grow in this garden, and we would be like Psalm 1 and Isaiah 61, like 3, you know, being the oaks of righteousness and being planted by the streams of the waters of life, and to even be like in Ezekiel 47, where it talks about, you know, the trees that have the fruit that are yielding just fruit for to bring just satisfaction and just
still awake.
Yes. And even in Revelation, where it talks about the tree of life and how it yields fruit, crops continually every single month, different crops. And it's like the Lord wants that to be in our life as well, where there's just this continual flow of His Spirit, and there's fruit for others to come and receive, and there is healing that flows from the tree through the leaves, and just all of that together. And so it's like the Lord's like just kind of giving more to His heart when it in reference to the garden and how we are going into the garden. And we had talked about even, you know, there's going to come this moment where the Lord's going to open these ark doors, and you're going to just walk from the ark into the garden, into that place of promise, into just the glory of God. And it's like we want to be in there and just eating from the tree of life, and continuing to just have life flow through us. And did you have anything else you want to say about the garden?
Well, I was thinking about the 30, 60, 100, and I was like, well, let's talk about that for a second. How do you know whether you're one of those, you know, the 30, 60, or 100, right? Especially if it's God's will for you to receive the 100, right? Well, it really comes down to personal submission, because we were talking about that in our family. We were like, that 30, 60, 100 is for each individual. You know what I mean? The degree that you're broken before the Lord, the degree that you're opened before the Lord, the degree that you allow Him to do whatever He wants to do, no matter how it might make you feel or whatever, even if it's picking out a song for a set list. See, the picking out a song for a set list, and you say, no, I'm not going to do that, that could be a huge deal for the Lord. He could be like, oh, I see. Oh, that's your area then, huh? Picking out the worship songs? Hello. You know what I mean? Because hey, I've been on worship team for 17 years. Trust me. That can be an issue. There a lot of times there is no flow of the Spirit of God at all when it comes to what songs are we choosing. There's no prayer that goes into it. There's no, you know, I've sat under people who that is the number one thing to do. pray and then seek the Lord. And I've sat under leaders who just do their own thing, and you can tell the difference. It's like the water that comes from that pipe is like, ugh, I'd rather get the bottled water, thanks. You know what I mean? It's like, where's the Lord in what you're doing? You know what I mean? So it's like, it depends on what we're willing to give up. When, in order to be a 100-fold believer producing 100-fold fruit, you have to give up everything. You literally have to give up everything. You have to give up everything. You have to give up your rights. You gotta, what's it, Luke 9:23? You have to die to yourself. You just got to die to yourself, to everything. You cannot have even one little bit of leaven of self reserved for just in case the Lord fails and I'm disappointed or whatever. Nope, you gotta seek the Lord in the disappointment and the pain and the heartache and the loss and the delay and the why is things not happening the way I thought they were going to happen. You got to seek the Lord in all of that. You got to give up everything to pursue Him. Like Paul said, by the Holy Spirit, really, inspired by the Spirit in, Philippians 2 or 3, where he says, I'm forgetting everything that's behind me, failures or successes. I'm pressing toward the heart of the Lord to find out why He came after me. That's the only thing I care about. That's what I don't care about nothing else. And it's like when you're that kind of person, God can do amazing things through you, which is why He ended up writing 2/3 of the New Testament. He wasn't trying to do that so He can get more subscribers and views. No, He didn't care. He was just like, no, I'm just going after the Lord. I'm just do what the Lord wants me to do. And even more than doing what the Lord wants me to do, I want to know Him. You know what I'm saying? You got to have that kind of heart. But the Lord in His grace is going to constantly be feeding the church constantly. It's like, well, you're actually in my house and you're willing to be in my house, so I'm going to be feeding you. But He's going to be trying to grow you as well. And that's where you find the different levels of maturity in the 30, 60, 100,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important to, just remember that it is about relationship with the Lord. Like, and it's like...
The Israelites missed that.
Yeah, and not the performance of trying to be perfect and all of that, because it's like, why is the Lord pruning? Why does He, strip down and all of that? It's like, well, because He wants you to know His heart more. It's like, hey, this is getting in the way. I want to remove it. Will you allow me to do that so you can see me the way that for who I really am?
I think you need a medal and a crown in that area. Because, man, you've been like chiseled to death. Literally. Yeah. Well, not literally. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, everything. That's why the Lord had you give up everything. Because it's like, but you know what? The Lord trusted that you would do it. He's like, you will give up everything. You're not going to want to. You're going to be fighting and kicking and screaming sometimes. But eventually you'll be like, why am I doing this? I might as well just give it. What am I trying to hold on to? If God's trying to take it, why am I trying to hold on to it? Whatever. Just have it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Let's go celebrate.
Yes.
Inside joke. Later video.
Yeah. But just to know, like, it really is, for the Lord, it is always about the heart. It is always about relationship. Yep. And for us to be able to see His heart, to really understand, to really know Him, and so much of the time we have our own thoughts and ideas. It's that knowledge of the, good and evil that can get in the way of really understanding who the Lord is. And so God has to come in and He has to make changes. And it's how willing are we to allow Him to make those changes.
Accept those changes, yeah.
And
I think we're good on the garden part.
Yeah, so that's kind of the
had
garden
a little addendum there myself.
Section. And then the last part is talking about a sudden break. And there were two different things that actually came up both the same night. And the first was, I was reading in John chapter 16. I think it's verse 21 and 22. And I think I have that on here somewhere. Yes. And it was talking about just the birthing. And, the birthing picture has been with us for a long time. And God uses that a lot. And again, as we're waiting for the promises of God to come to pass in our life, it's like there can be pain that's involved with the waiting, with just the, hearing prophetic words, still waiting to see anything change, have something happen, and it's like, okay, Lord, the timing is usually a big factor, at least for me. It's always a big factor.
Hearing prophetic words.
Yes.
And then hearing prophetic words.
And some more.
Sometimes that messes you up. And then hearing prophetic words, that can really be a problem.
And
because it's prophetic. It's like, come on.
But there was this, I was reading this scripture, and it really stood out to me because it was talking about, there's the labor and the pain of childbirth, but once the baby is born, the mother it's like the pain and the anguish of it melts in,
goes away.
In just being able to hold the baby. And it's like, do you still remember the pain? Well, yes, you do, but it's not in earnest, and it's not, there is a relief. Mm-hmm. There is just a joy that sweeps over you once you've had the baby, and it's like,
there's no felt pain that comes with the memory.
It's over. It's okay. It's done. Like, all right, we made it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so the Lord was just like, that's what it will be like. There's just going to come that moment of birth where, hey, this promise is here now, and just that release and relief of like, the labor and all those painful contractions and the waiting is over. Yeah. And even in getting married, a lot of times there can be that waiting until you get married, that there's just in your heart, you're just like, I can't wait, and then it's like, we're married now, yay. And it's like both of those usher you into something completely
once
new.
You get that kiss,
completely different.
It's like, this is real.
Yeah. And so once you hold that baby in your arms, it's like, wow, my life has changed. Things are different. Yeah. All those years of, just waiting for the promises, it's like, here it is in my hands. Yeah. And so there was that picture of just really, I think though, like the sudden break, meaning it's like just sudden, like you've been laboring, but then finally the baby comes, and it's like, okay, you're done. You are done with just the giving birth part, and you're done with the pregnancy. You're done.
Yeah, the
it's
whole
like
thing. Now you've entered into a new journey.
Yes.
Called life.
Yeah. And but then the other one that we were it was actually a vision that Devin had with just the sudden break. I'll just have him share that about the restaurant.
Okay. Well, was this last night?
Yeah, it was last night.
This was just last night. What are we doing this on? Friday? So you guys are watching this on Saturday. We're getting ready for a birthday right now as you're watching this. So so this was last night. And I saw this restaurant. We were in this restaurant. Me and the whole family. We were just in this restaurant, and it was just us running this restaurant. And the restaurant was huge. It was like high school cafeteria huge, and it was just an open area with a bunch of tables and it's a great big window up front. And I guess there was a culture that had developed within the restaurant itself, was a family culture, our culture, but there was also just an air of tension that was just in the air. It was just part of the culture, just this tension. And I believe that came from, this is how everybody's dealing with being in this restaurant business, because, why was it so tense? Well, because we believed God to open up this place in this vision. We believed God to open up this place. We opened it, and basically 90% of our tables have never been used. They just have never been used. They're like, they're always vacant. You know, and so we have other people coming into the restaurant, one family here and there, such and such. It's not even close to enough of what we need to keep the restaurant open, right? But God, through his miraculous provision and his power, he always provides to keep the restaurant open. And it's just like, wow, like we've been doing this for a long time. I could tell in the vision we'd been doing the restaurant thing for a very long time. And that's just, it's almost like when Jews are waiting for the Messiah. Mm-hmm. There was a culture of waiting and not seeing. Mm-hmm. And so when the Messiah actually showed up, they didn't believe it was him because, no, that's not how this goes. We're supposed to wait and hope for, but not see. That's just how it works.
Well, and
you know what I mean?
It's kind of like even with Sarah, when the Lord finally showed up, she laughed because it was like, now, like I
like
know.
That's not how this works. we just keep hoping, and then we just keep living.
Yeah,
we keep hoping, and that's exactly what it was. That was the tension in the air. It was just like, and so there was this moment in the vision where we're completely dead. Like there's like not a person at a table. And I mean, at most we might have 2 tables occupied. Sometimes we might have, I mean, that was it. I just got the sense of like 2 at the most, and that's it. And it's like, how in the world? I mean, it just costs a lot of money just to keep this thing open.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are you doing this? Like, what? I was expecting we open the doors and there's going to be a flood of people. And it's like, I mean, why? This is crazy. It seems like an awful waste of money. You know? Yeah. That's what's going on in the Devin's head and vision. You know, it's very reflective in reality, though. And I'm like, it just seems like an awful waste of space, an awful waste of money. Just, I mean, we could have a little backyard barbecue for the amount of people that come to our place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We don't need all this. And he's like, is that what you're believing for? A little backyard barbecue? It's like, no. It's like, is that the vision I put in you? Okay, Lord, I got it. No more questions. No more questions, Your Honor, from you. I was telling my kids today, I was like, if you really want to develop a relationship with the Lord, you will find that he asks more questions than you do. You know, half of your relationship could be like, so Devin, what about this? What about that? It's like, he's a pursuer. God pursues our hearts. He knows everything there is to know about us, but he pursues us. That's a whole nother video. But, and so there was this moment in the vision, because the vision happened like boom, 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 like that, you know, but explaining it obviously takes a while. Where I'm just so frustrated. And I think I'm yelling to the kitchen where Michelle is. And I'm going, blah, 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 because of this, you know, do the thing that you're supposed to do or whatever. I don't know what it is. And I think Michelle's in the back going, but I don't know where it is. You need to tell me. We're having one of our glorious, you know, Facebook-worthy post moments. You know, no one posts that stuff on Facebook. And so I'm just in the vision, and I know that like one of the kids is off in the corner doing something. I mean, they're not necessarily doing something they shouldn't, but they're not doing what they should either. Does that make sense? Yeah. They're just over there, and so I can just tell it's a very tense situation. And with the air and expectation of the weight constantly there, it's like gasoline on a fire. You know what I mean? And so I'm just like, and then I hear this kind of like a ring, like a door being opened that has one of those bells attached to it, let you know, oh, someone's at the door. And I just heard this ring, but for whatever reason, I end up at the door, like addressing someone who's outside of the door. I was like, this is interesting. And so there's this family there that's just like, they're super happy to, and we've never seen them before. They were new. And there's like, oh man, we're super happy to be here. We heard that this restaurant is just like, you guys serve like amazing food and this is amazing. And I was just like, oh okay, yeah, man, all right. We just had like maybe one of the worst moments we've had, but yeah, come on in. You know, we'll just do what we do. Yeah. You know, just go ahead, come on in, man. And it's like, all right, cool. And then it's like, all right, cool. And then there was another family right after them. I didn't see them, but they were right behind them. And then they came in. And then the vision, like it flashes forward to our entire restaurant was jam-packed with people that day. And it started with that one family coming in, and then there was another family behind them. They came in. It was like, oh, okay, cool. And it was like, fast forward. You know how they do those little not freeze frame, but those flash forward things in TV shows and movies. And we're just doing our thing, man. We are doing our thing like a NASCAR pit stop, team. We're just pit crew. There you go. I mean, we're just rocking. But at the same time, we're just going, what is going on? What's happening? What? You know what I mean? And we're not missing a beat, and we're serving everybody. Everybody's happy. No one's sad about how long their food's taken. No one's complaining or whining or nothing. And we're just rocking. We're just going. And, everybody in the family is just working. My daughter, she's like a super, super helper. She has a spiritual gift of help. She's a great helper. I mean, she was just amazing. It was like, we couldn't do this without you. You know what I mean? You are so important element. But everybody had an important element. And every once in a while, I remember looking at my daughter. We both caught each other's eye in the vision, and we're going, what's going on? Where did all these people come from? And it was like, but we were happy. We were like, amazed, and we're like, wow, this is crazy. And and everyone's happy at their tables. There's no complaining. And then I happened to just look up, and there was literally a line across the entire window of people waiting to get in. And then the vision ended. And I was like, wow. So I told it, you wanna speak on it?
Well, it was just like, as you were...
That's just the sense of sudden break.
Yeah, just a sudden break where it's just like, you're just doing what you always do. There's just that tension and all of that. But then suddenly, there's this knock at the door. There's that door. The door is open, and there is literally the flood of people starts coming in. And it's like, whoa, this changes everything. And so it's just like,
wow. I was like, can we even handle this many people?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not even staffed for this.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Well, and I think when we were talking, you were sharing the vision last night, you had also mentioned like how like we had been so trained. Like we were 100% ready.
SEAL Team 6 ready.
Because of all the stuff we had been through, it was like we were ready for that moment. And it wasn't a moment of, oh no, like we got to figure things out. It was just, whoa, this is the moment. Let's just go.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference.
It was too crazy to try to like wonder or figure it out.
No, but I really...
Let's just go. Let's move. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, but it's like that's the difference between the wise and the foolish virgins, where they...
Oh, you said it right. I think I prefer versions.
Because some had the oil and they were ready to go, and some were not. And it's just like, I think that's just the Lord saying like, hey, you're ready to go. You might be... have been waiting so long, because all 10 of them fell asleep because it had been such a long time waiting. But when the bridegroom came and the shout came and it was like, it is time to go, they were ready to go, and they were able to go into the banqueting hall.
That's crazy. I just realized that's kind of like what it was like. So there was the door in the vision. That's significant. But when I went out the door to try to bring them in, that's the guy just met me with this excitement. He was like, hey, man. Hey. It was a shout. I just realized that. Wow. You got to share your visions with people you trust so you can understand what the Lord is saying.
Yeah.
You think, oh, the Lord shared the vision with me. I'm going to have all the information. No, you're not.
Yeah.
God's a team player. He's going to give... My 8-year-old comes up with stuff that's like, wow, I didn't even see that. It's like so important.
Yeah.
All of us are vital,
Yeah. But...
That boy is getting restless.
I know.
No nap.
But he's been doing so good, staying quiet.
He has.
So, but yeah, there's just that... just that sense of just like being ready. And there are so many, like that I believe it's the same as the equivalent of coming out of the ark in glory. and
waiting
just,
in the upper room.
Yeah,
you know?
and just like your heart is ready to just move with the Lord, and so you're able. It's like, oh well, if you were having a rough day and it was like, man, this is just, there's the tension or whatever it is, it's like truly though you are ready for what the Lord has, because it's like
some little moment doesn't define you anyway.
You've continued to believe, you've continued to just hold fast to the words that God has said, so you've stored that oil, and so when it's like, hey, here's the shout, here's the bridegroom coming, it's like you are ready, and you're gonna go and you're gonna be a part of that wedding feast and that time of great celebration, and so that was just the other part of what God's been sharing, and
the vision was obviously big.
It is.
The size of that dining room, man, was like, it represents a big vision,
Yeah.
And you might look at your life and be like, I think I could do maybe something better with my life. God, why are you doing this with my life right now? It seems like an awful waste of time and money and space and skill, and I could be doing better than this. Mm-hmm. Yes, when you live your life on the foundation of the knowledge of good and evil, it can look like that. Mm-hmm. It can. But if you live your life by the tree of life and move by the Spirit, that's all you need to know. Just do that. Mm-hmm. If you know that this is the Lord, and He's going to provide. He's going to prove Himself in some way or another that, yes, that's where you're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. That's what you're supposed to be doing. He will do that.
Yeah. And He will bring the rain. He will send the people. The
encouragement to your heart to let you know, like, you're in the right place doing what you should,
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of been our scene. Scene.
I know. It reminds me of that movie Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will.
Oh yeah.
He will come, or they will come. They will come.
If you build it, they will come.
And
that was so popular.
But it's like, it's that idea though. It's like, for him, it's like he's doing something totally crazy and off the wall, and it's like, what are you doing? You're that is so not smart. You're gonna.
This is for corn.
Yeah.
Not for baseball.
Yeah, it's like, but it's like, so the Lord, a lot of times your life might look like that, where everybody else is like, what are you doing? Like, why are you
Noah,
doing this?
brother, you've been doing this for a long time. Are you sure you're not crazy?
Yeah.
Talking
about rain.
This is an awful waste of lumber, brother. I mean, a big waste.
Yeah.
Huge. Until the thunder and the lightning.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, yeah.
Yeah.
We could give a million examples.
Exactly.
Right?
But yeah, so that is what we have to share with you guys today. And I do pray that you are blessed, and just know that, man, God He is working. He is moving. He is continuing to speak.
We can't even tell you half the story, can we?
And,
it's just it's crazy.
And so just be ready. Know that the Lord is coming. So I think that's all that we have for you guys. And
Little guy's ready.
Yes. And I just wanted to do a quick prayer. Father, I just pray that you would come and you would just bring forth the sudden break for your people, that we might come into the wedding feast, and it would just be the time of just great celebration among your people, and that we would be planted into your garden, that we would grow, and that we would be people who receive 100-fold because of the yieldedness of our hearts to you. And just let your dreams come forth, Lord, and just that there would be just many hundreds of thousands of people whose lives are just suddenly changed, and promises are fulfilled, and just heaven would come down here upon earth. And so we just pray that in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I love that.
All right. So until next time, guys, we will see you later.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.